Let's talk about the 5 bottlenecks to growth. When I look at the years that my brothers and I have been in this business working with agents and brokers trying to help them grow their business, we've identified 5 areas that really have a huge hindrance to growth. And so one of them is, the first one is expectations, right? And what I mean by that is so many people have either met their expectations or met the expectations of someone else long ago, and they're no longer growing. I don't know if it's just age. Sometimes it may be just a certain book size. At the end of the day, they've gotten out of this business what they intended to. And once that happens, it's extremely, extremely difficult to get a person who's living above even sometimes the expectations they had for this business to get them working again. And so please look at our video that Jeff did on the accountability dead end to learn more about that. But here's what we know. Those people in this business that are trying to do something important for themselves, they're excited about the goal they're trying to achieve. They're trying to achieve some level of club status that we install in a firm to keep them growing and keep them pushing because it's more substantial, then that is always better and more exciting for the individual, for the agency owner, for us, and helping them really pull out that vision for their future is crucial. Because I'll tell you, the number one bottleneck to growth, when we go into these firms and we look around and we try to find, are there producers that have met their expectations, or there's not any clear expectations that they're living up to of their owner or from someone else, it becomes, they're everywhere, and it is the absolute number one bottleneck for growth. Number 2 is time. And so there are some very simple things that we can do to help firms create more capacity, because as books grow, capacity is diminished. And I'll share with you, we can literally see agencies grow exponentially with more capacity by making some simple tweaks in the type of accounts that we go after and what we do with those that really are chewing up our capacity. Those that have done it would swear by it. Those that haven't, that know about it, are probably, they're just, for whatever reason, maybe because they've met their expectations, they don't care to do it. So oftentimes what we will see is somebody say, man, I could still grow my book of business if I had the time. But really the real issue is when they're honest, and maybe they'll admit that later, is that their expectations really were driving their lack of growth, not the fact that they got a capacity problem. Those people that still want to grow, those people that I know that are writing $600,000, $700,000 in revenue a year, that are trying to build multi-million-dollar books, they got the same amount of time that you and I have. They just have different expectations. And those expectations drive how they spend their time and the type of accounts that they go after. So they can grow with less accounts much more substantially. Bottleneck number 3 is, who do I call on? It's a huge problem, and we see it every day. I ask somebody, tell me about the target list. How did you put it together? And people just don't have a real good feel of who they should be calling on, and it's a huge bottleneck. Those producers that we work with that are doing the best, they have a rolling 200 target accounts that have a lot of value to them. They know who the decision maker is in there by name, and they're using multiple creative prospecting and marketing methods to get in front of those people, which leads us to bottleneck number 4. How do I get in front of them? So much of what people say doesn't work. I'm always frustrated and disappointed how little bit of creativity is put into this part of the process. Even if they know who they're going after, sending somebody a voicemail or maybe some compliance drips or whatever it is. Beyond that, maybe an email. Most of the people I see, after they call them once, they never call them back. The best ones would do it 2, maybe 3 times before they decide they're not going to call that person anymore. We've developed a complete set of creative prospecting tools to make the whole process easier and change. But I will tell you this, if you don't know how to get in front of people, if you're just leaving a voicemail about for someone to call you back about their insurance needs, here's what I'll tell you, that if you will remove that from the equation, you will get a much better result. These people are really indifferent towards us, right? Jeff talks a lot about the bunker of indifference that prospects are hunkered in, right? And so he says that the opposite of love is what? And people commonly would say it's hate. And we argue that it's not hate, it's indifference, right? If you've ever had someone break up with you, you know that the fact that they hate you doesn't bother you near as bad as if you know for a fact that you're not even on their mind, right? So as you're stalking them and you look through their window and you realize that they're not concerned with you at all, right? One of my favorite scenes and one of my favorite shows of all time is Mad Men. I think it's some of the best stuff that's ever been put in the can. Don Draper is the most interesting character in film. And there's a scene in one of his movies where he's on one of his shows, one of the episodes, where an employee looks up at him in the elevator and says, I feel sorry for you. And Don Draper looks right back at him and says, I don't think about you at all, right? And so that is the ultimate in the opposite of love, is that you just knew in that moment he didn't care about him at all. That's the thing with our prospects. They don't think about us. They don't care about us. They're hunkered in a bunker of indifference. And if you don't have a way to bust them out, you're in trouble. A huge lack of creativity there. And we see producers all over the country that are changing the way that that's done. And it's the most exciting thing that I can think about that so many other people are doing out there that are either they're finding a way to be introduced into that bunker or being led into that bunker by somebody that knows who's in it, or they're setting something out in front of it that drives so much curiosity that the buyer has to step out of the bunker and go get it. It's one of the most exciting things that we're doing. And then bottleneck number 5 is what needs to happen to get hired. And ultimately, that's what Blueprint was founded on. When we started this 10 years ago, was how do we differentiate? How do we even create real contrast? And I'll give you a simple tool or simple communication method to help you think through this. Ultimately, what we've done is that we've taken all the stuff that you want to talk about that everybody has that's just like you, and we've converted it to an outcome that an employer or a risk should be getting for all the money they're spending. And that layer of execution is allowing us to differentiate in a way that we never have before. So anyway, that's the 5 bottlenecks to growth. If you feel like you're experiencing or those 5 bottlenecks to growth have impacted you in any way, give us a call. We'd love to talk through it with you, see what's happening to you. Maybe even in a phone call, we can give you some ideas that will make a difference. And so I hope that's the case. Thank you for checking out our website and for clicking on the video. And I will talk to you soon, hopefully. This is Chad Jenkins, and I love y'all.